This video is sponsored by Oculus. Last year, Facebook revolutionized the virtual reality space by releasing the Oculus Quest, the first completely self-contained VR headset. No need to upgrade your computer. In fact, you don't need a computer at all. No console, you just put it on and play. It's by far the easiest way to jump into the world of virtual reality. The original Oculus Quest was a tremendous effort for a first-gen device. Whatever shortcomings it had, and it did have a few, it more than made up for those with how simple it made getting into VR. The original Quest saw overwhelmingly positive reviews, and though Facebook has never announced official sales numbers, developers consistently reported that software sales were much higher on the Oculus Quest than on other VR devices. With such a runaway hit on their hands, a follow-up was pretty much inevitable. And last month, amid many rumors of a Quest sequel, Facebook officially unveiled the Oculus Quest 2. And here's the best part. They reached out to me for a sponsored video. Check it out! Now, I feel this disclaimer might be a little necessary. Anyone who knows me and follows my work knows how passionate I've been about VR for all these years. VR in general and the Oculus Quest specifically. If you go back and watch my previous Quest videos, it's pretty obvious I'm a super fan. That being said, I'll be entirely straight up with you about anything I don't like about the Quest 2. Considering the reviews so far, it's not going to be much, but there are a few things I've noticed that I wish Oculus had done a little bit differently. Now, you know I don't like to make you guys wait until the end of the video to find out if this thing is worth it or not, so I will say this. The Oculus Quest 2 is an absolute game changer when it comes to VR. It takes everything the original Quest did right and does it even better. This thing is amazing. Let's get into this already. All right, so let's open this box here. I'm so excited, oh my God. Let's see here. Come on. And over here, okay, here we go. This is the best, the best thing about being a tech YouTuber is this, getting to peel the plastic off these things. I love it. All right, so this is the box of the Oculus Quest 2. Let's slide this thing out. It's much smaller than the box for the original Quest. So that's already an improvement, I think. All right, so that's the inside box. Let's take the sleeve off. I'm gonna put this over here. So let's open this thing. Oh my goodness, I love this. I love this right here. So this is the box for the Oculus Quest. Right here we have the touch controllers. So these have been changed. They feel a little heavier in the hand. There's the wrist straps here. And I noticed right away that the face here, this part here, is much bigger than the original, but everything else feels very familiar. It feels a little bit heavier. I have my old touch controllers here. It feels a little bit heavier, but not in a bad way, not overly so. It feels like there's something to it, you know? It's funny because this feels more like a premium device now, and this feels more like a toy because of how much lighter it is. So I guess it's gonna come down to personal preference, but I'm liking this. I like there's something to this. One thing I saw some people mention is that the sides here, this little the cover here for the battery, it's in a different position so it doesn't slide around during gameplay so much. That's a little problem that I had with the original Quest. It didn't affect me as much as some other people, but this thing would come out a little bit easier. So it's magnetic, it stays in place by magnets here, so as you can see. So it would slide out sometimes. This thing is there good. You have to apply some good pressure there to get it off. So that's one of the things I can already tell they improved, probably from listening to user feedback. So right here we have some documentation that I'm not going to read because come on, I know this thing. And power cable, so USB-C to USB-C, and the power brick. Finally, the main attraction. We have the Oculus Quest itself. Let's take this out. It's nice and snug in there. So that's. Oh, there's the glass spacer. I'm gonna touch on that in a second. So this is the Oculus Quest 2. Check it out. Now, as the reviewers have pointed out, it's definitely lighter. It's interesting that they made the touch controllers a little bit heavier and the actual headset lighter, so that's good. So definitely smaller. It's hard to tell here from these angles that I'm showing, but it's a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller, and lighter, which is gonna make for a more comfortable fit for most people. So as you can see, it comes all wrapped up here with some cardboard, and there's the straps that I heard so much about. So one thing that's interesting, when it comes to the position of the lenses here, unlike the original Quest, I'm gonna show you here. The original Quest had a slider at the bottom here so you could adjust the distance between the lenses. That is necessary to get the best image out of your Oculus Quest because no one's eyes are positioned exactly the same way on their heads. So you can adjust the lenses here to get the best distance between your eyes. So yeah, this looks very different. The lenses protrude from the case quite a bit more. I'm going to show you here my original Quest again. From what I can gather, the original Oculus Quest probably has a similar configuration to this. It's just that they have this like little fabric mesh here, so you can't really see. The Oculus Quest 2, I really like this, supports official mods, like there's accessories that you can buy. With the original Quest, the community kind of like made their own kind of accessories, and now this time around, Oculus actually puts out official accessories for the Oculus Quest 2. And one of the ones that I have my eyes on is a more comfortable strap. Now this strap here, I've heard it being described as, you know, not super comfortable. The original strap on the Oculus Quest wasn't the most comfortable I've ever worn, but I completely understand this design decision. The whole idea here seems to be to make this thing as marketable and as mainstream as possible, to really push VR to the masses, and you can't do that with a premium device. You're gonna have to make a few things a little cheaper. And one of the things, like obviously the strap is, you know, just a regular strap, and one thing that also made that cheaper, I imagine, is the fact that you don't have that little slider at the bottom here like with the original Quest to set the distance between the lenses. So I imagine that might have cut costs a little bit, not by much, but when you're shipping, you know, millions of these things, every little bit helps. All in all, Oculus was able to take something that was already a phenomenal first-gen device and managed to make it better in basically every regard. The Oculus Quest 2 is lighter, faster, has higher resolution, and perhaps most importantly to a lot of people watching, is actually cheaper than the original model. Of course, to make this both so much better than the original model, but still cheaper, some compromises had to be made. And this is what I'm talking about. The Quest 2 only has one headphone jack here on the left-hand side. So if you want to wear headphones when you play your games, you're going to have this to deal with. Now, obviously, this isn't the end of the world. You can toss it behind your back or maybe even, I don't know, tie it to the head strap. But considering the main appeal of the Oculus Quest 2 is the fact that it is wireless, this isn't a great compromise. The original Oculus Quest, on the other hand, had dual headphone jacks, which meant you could pick up one of these little earbuds here that are very short. So you put this on and it's right in your ear, and it's, I find, much more convenient than dealing with a dangling wire all over your back and neck. And it perhaps is something that won't bother people as much, but for somebody who's gotten used to this over the last few months, let me just say, I wish we had an extra headphone jack on the Oculus Quest 2 as well. That being said, if they manage to make this thing more mainstream because of that lower price point, I feel like the compromise is justifiable. Because after all, as a VR enthusiast, I want this on the hands of more people. I want more companies to want to create content for it. I want more people to play online. Of course, speaking about playing, we have to talk about my favorite games on this platform. We have to start things off with Beat Saber, perhaps one of the most popular VR games we have right now. In Beat Saber, you hold two virtual sabers and you have to swing at colored boxes that fly towards you in the direction of the arrows that are printed on the boxes. If the arrow points down, you have to swing down. If the arrow points up, you swing up, and so on and so forth. It's one of those games where the mechanics are very simple and intuitive to learn, but it takes some serious skill and rhythm to master. I've always been a massive fan of rhythm games, and Beat Saber was no different. It's the game probably that I put the most amount of time in. An update has come out recently that enables multiplayer mode, meaning you can play Beat Saber with a friend, which is bound to extend the longevity of this game, which again, as a rhythm game, you could potentially play this thing forever. Lots of replay value here. Even if rhythm games aren't your cup of tea, the combination of the music and the swinging and the dancing and the VR graphics, I've had friends over who have little interest in video games, VR or otherwise, and they were asking me where I bought the Oculus Quest and how much it was because they just loved Beat Saber that much. My mom, who doesn't really love video games or anything, loved Beat Saber. This one is a bit of a hidden gem in my opinion. Time Stall. In Time Stall, you play a security officer in the world's first crowdfunded space cruise ship. And as you can imagine, things don't go exactly according to plan, and all hell breaks loose when the ship goes too close to a star that's going supernova. Now, thankfully, as a security officer, you have these gloves that allow you to freeze time for a little while. I believe usually, depending on the level you're playing, it's something like 90 seconds. Obviously, the time changes according to the complexity of the level. So in the game, when an accident is about to happen, things are about to go haywire, you freeze time with your gloves, then you move around the level, changing things, moving this to here, placing this over here, and creating chain reactions to prevent people, or rather the little robots you're supposed to save, from getting hurt. I love the idea that time stood still and I'm moving around to try to save people, or again, robots, from harm. It's a game that doesn't get mentioned as much, and I think that's just unfair because it's not very long, but it's gameplay unlike anything I've ever played before. Next up, we have Onward, an online tactical first-person shooter that is basically my favorite game for the Quest right now. There are tons of maps and game modes. You can create private rooms to play with your friends. There's lots of weapons, lots of attachments. You can customize your layout to an almost absurd degree. Lots of fun accessories to use, like smoke grenades and a drone that you can fly around the battlefield to see where the enemies are coming from, that they can actually shoot down, so you have to be somewhat careful with it. The game is a lot of fun, and it's not hard to find an online match right now. And it's hard to put into words how much more immersive it feels to actually, quote unquote, handle a gun and to change the magazines, put a new one in, and do all the things that you're supposed to do to get the gun to work, as opposed to when you're playing a regular game, just pressing a button and watching a reloading animation. To actually do it on the fly as you're being shot at just adds that whole layer of realism that makes this basically my favorite VR experience right now. Like I said, it's hard to go back to traditional first-person shooters once you get used to VR FPSs. Echo Arena is something that I believe has crazy potential to become a huge hit with the Oculus Quest 2. Developed by Oculus themselves, and it's a bit of a spin-off of another game of theirs, Lone Echo, which unfortunately isn't out on the Quest 2 yet, at least. This game is basically a mix between football and basketball in zero gravity. You and your teammates play as robots inside a zero gravity arena. There's discs, there's goals on either side of the arena, and you have to basically score at more goals than the opposing team. And it's also a contact sport, meaning there's combat. You get to punch people to stun them and steal the disc from them. You can toss them around, you can grab onto them to get more speed, and then throw yourself off of them. And the absolute best thing about Echo Arena, it's free. Super Hot is one of those games that when I saw it at first, I didn't really understand what I was seeing. And then once you play it and you get into it, it becomes the kind of experience that regular video games just cannot provide. In fact, Super Hot exists as a, non-VR, or as we call it, pancake version. And I don't understand what the point it is at all. This is the kind of game that to me only makes sense in VR. So Super Hot is basically an action puzzler. In every level, you have opponents coming towards you with melee and ranged weapons. And the thing is, time only moves when you do. If you stand perfectly still, the opponents also stay still. If you move your head a little bit to see what's going on this side, that movement allows time to flow again. So you want to make very slow movements and very methodical. You have to plan your moves ahead of time. Then you're throwing an object at somebody, grabbing their gun from midair, shooting a different opponent. It's basically like this careful ballet where you're gonna die a lot in the course of planning out what's the best sequence of events. You start the game, you find that like in the later levels, you start the level like standing perfectly still and just moving your eyeball and like, okay, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna throw to that guy. I'm gonna grab his gun from midair. I'm gonna turn. I'm gonna shoot this other guy. Then I'm gonna grab that other gun. So I like that. I like that it's basically a puzzle approach to a first-person shooter, and you can freeze time whenever you want by just not moving and like having a look around and seeing what you're supposed to do next. A lot of fun. A lot of people have referred to Pistol Whip as John Wick, the rhythm game, and I absolutely see where they're coming from. The song variety is great. There's a lot of guns to play with. You can customize them to change the look, but ultimately, a rhythm game is really only as fun as the gameplay. So there's window dressing and that you can change the guns and all this stuff, but really it's about the gameplay and the music. Then another one I really don't see being recommended as often, but I'm a big fan of, is Angry Birds. Yes, there's VR Angry Birds, and it's better than it's ever been on any other platform. I mean, there's not much I need to say. It's Angry Birds, but now in VR, in 3D. There's a lot of levels. There's a decent amount of replay value as well, because you can try to 3-star everything. It's, like I said, a game that I've had so much fun with, and for some reason it seems to be neglected by the VR community. So try it out. I think you're gonna like it. And this is really only scratching the surface. Whereas early in its lifespan, as it's the case with any console, there weren't as many titles for you to sink your teeth into. Now, if anything, there are too many VR titles to play. I would say if you can, spring for the higher capacity model so you don't have to do, as some of my friends have to do, manage the contents of the Oculus Quest 2, delete some games to load some more. I mean, the 64 gig version is still very worth it if that's what you can afford to get into VR. I say do it. But if you can, try to get the higher capacity model. Trust me, you're going to thank me later. But this is the Oculus Quest 2. I'll be making some more videos about this device. I gotta say, I've dreamed about something exactly like this since I was a kid. When I saw VR for the first time in those bulky arcades you'd see in the malls, I imagined like one day, instead of this whole thing, it's going to be just this tiny little thing, and it's not going to be crazy expensive, and there's going to be all these games that look incredible, and you're going to be able to play with other people as well. Obviously, in the 90s, that seemed impossible, but now I have it right here in my hands, and I could not be more excited for the future of VR. If you have a powerful enough gaming computer, you can play PC VR games with this thing, both using the official Oculus Link cable, which requires you to be tethered to the computer, or using apps like Virtual Desktop, which allow you to stream the VR content from your computer wirelessly to the headset. So yeah, you can play Boneworks on this, you can play Half-Life Alyx with this, again, provided your computer can run those things. They will not run on here. You're going to be streaming them from your computer. But the fact that you can do this, meaning this thing does double duty as a hybrid device where you can go somewhere to your friend's house and play these games, but you can also play at home using your computer to run these more intense games, that is amazing. And that it's even cheaper than the original model. This thing starts at $299. I think the Oculus Quest is going to be a massive hit this holiday season, which means you're going to see a lot more players, a lot more companies interested in creating content for it. In short, it's a great time to be a VR fan. Once again, I'd like to thank Oculus for the opportunity to work with them in this sponsored video. As any VR enthusiast, I've been a huge fan of the company from its early days, and it's awesome to be a part of this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. There's going to be links in the description where you can buy your very own Oculus Quest 2. As always, I use affiliate links down there, so that will be helping out the channel a little bit if you do buy it through the links that I provide. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me either on Twitter or Instagram. I'm very active on social media, or in the comments down here. I'll try to reply as many as I can. And that's all the time I have for today. I'm Izzy, and I'm done.